discussing pertains to the Equifax cyber breach and will also include solutions for companies at high risk for data breaches. So Equifax is a consumer credit reporting agency that houses data for over 800 million consumers and more than 50 million businesses worldwide. A few weeks ago, Equifax was the target of a data breach that potentially disclosed the financial information of over 100 million consumers. Equifax joins a list of few other large companies like Merck, Google, and Verizon, who alone have experienced data breaches just this summer. And because the recovery process is somewhat immeasurable, data breaches are, in my opinion, one of the costliest hits a company can take. To start, the fixed costs of just notifying consumers, increased insurance premiums, and hiring forensic investigators creates a situation that often takes years to rebound from. According to a report issued by the Ponemon Institute, LLC, on behalf of the International Business Machines Corps, found that data breaches cost companies in the U.S. an average of $7.35 million in 2017. However, that cost largely depends on how much data a company actually loses. The study showed that breaches of less than $10,000 comprised records cost international companies an average of $1.9 million, while breaches of 50,000 records and above cost international companies an average of $6.3 million. When broken down to a cost per record, U.S. companies tend to pay a little over $200 per record, therefore. Although that figure is different between large and small-scale companies, Dana Simberkoff of AvePoint Inc. referred to a decline in a company's stock as another foreshadowing of how consumers react to such incidents. And in this case of Equifax, since the data breach, the company's actually lost almost $5 billion in market value. One interesting fact I read in the article and later researched was the expensive method of notifying victims of cyber attacks. By law, companies must disclose breaches by mail only, which can cost Equifax over $100 million. And I mean, that's a pretty big loss for a company, even before they can properly investigate and assess their real financial burden. And unsurprisingly, a lawsuit filed against the company by the firms Olson Daines PC and Geragos is seeking as much as $70 billion in damages as well, Bloomberg reported. This case was also the first time I'd ever heard of this, but a team of lawyers set up a web robot to make it actually easier for consumers to sue Equifax in a matter of minutes, Yahoo Finance reported. Which, I mean, on Equifax's part, it seems like a pretty smart move, to understand quicker and more efficiently like how many people are suing you and how much of a financial hole you're actually in. Another big problem Equifax faces is the hidden cost of the breach. So loss of customers and reputational damage seem to outweigh the fixed costs of repairing this type of situation, mainly because it's pretty hard for analysts to forecast and predict how much revenue will actually be lost as a result. And to make matters worse, the model that Equifax uses actually collects information from banks, then sells the reports to lenders. So ultimately, this breach will most likely affect people who don't even use Equifax. On the insurance side, Bloomberg News also reported that Equifax has an insurance policy that may or may not cover up to $150 million in damages. But moreover, despite the high risk that companies face, cyber insurance is actually a relatively new product in relation to how fast technology is advancing. Large carriers like AIG, Chubb, Axis, they're all top sellers among cyber coverage. But surprisingly, nearly 50% of firms don't have it in the U.S., and another 27% don't plan on buying it. Opting instead to investing money in cybersecurity products and other lines of defense, which, in my opinion, is a bad move for a few different reasons. First, the ratio of premium to payout for cyber insurance is extremely low. And what I mean by that is most companies are paying virtually nothing compared to the amount of coverage they're actually buying. So, for example, if a small firm is maybe looking for $750,000 worth of coverage, the price of buying that might only be $5,000 to $10,000, and in some cases it could even see 1 to 100 ratio, which is it's really beneficial for smaller companies. Furthermore, most businesses buy what's called first-party coverage, which essentially covers any cyber risks, including data breaches and other sensitive client-customer data. In contrast, to prevent breaches from happening, most companies need to invest in more than one product to protect itself from more than one type of attack, like malware, ransomware, spyware, and DOS, which is denial of service. But besides that, overall, I thought this article was a pretty good read, and I'm interested to see what happens in the future for companies like Equifax, who have taken a cyber hit and are possibly looking to rebound and retain their consumer base and profits.